When we look at the sow performance, we generally tie it down to one key performance indicator, which is the number of pigs produced per sow, the number born alive minus all of your mortalities on the farm. And when we do that on an average number per sow, the number rose from 27.4 pigs in 2022 to 27.9 pigs in 2023. So there was a half of a pig extra produced per sow per year in 2023.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of The Pig Edge, Teagasc's pig podcast with me, Amy Quinn, where we are bringing you the latest news, information and advice to keep Irish pig farmers up to date. The 2023 Teagasc National Pig Herd Performance Report has just been released, revealing some notable changes in our key performance indicators for the 2023 year. To delve into the report and analyse the figures and trends in detail, we have Specialised pig advisor Ger McCutcheon with us. Ger, most likely already know, but for any of our new or international listeners perhaps, could you tell us quickly about the Teagasc Profit Monitor system in terms of how it operates and its practical uses?
Yes, Amy, the Profit Monitor recording system is designed really for farmers to submit data input sheets to us Teagasc advisors, and we then will generate a report from those input items. The main focus of the report would be that on page 1, you have the sow performance figures. On page 2, you have the feed performance figures. And on page 3, you have the financial performance. So you're getting a great overview of how your unit is performing on a production basis, on a feed basis, and a financial basis. And, you know, the Profit Monitor system has been used by a good number of farmers through the years. They would see merit in using it to compare their farms with other farms as well that are using the same system. So they can see how their farms are performing relative to other farms that are using the very same system as well. So it's a good system of looking at performance, and it's also a good system of looking at those key performance indicators that farmers would have in their heads as to whether the unit is performing or not from a production, from a feed, and from on a financial basis as well.
And Ger, you've just compiled the figures for 2023. Would you like to give our listeners an overview of the herds involved?
The 2023 figures, it takes us a while to compile them really because we're waiting for the last sets of data to come in each time. And we're trying to capture as much information from all of the farms that are using the Profit Monitor system. So in 2023, we have 91 farms on the system, and the average sow herd size is 864 sows. So that's giving us over 78,000 sows on the system. And when we compile the figures, we're treating all of those farms as nearly as one national herd and trying to pull out, well, what is the average performance figures from all of those herds that are using the system. So that's what we do. Our number of sows has probably increased up to 864, while it was 744 in 2022. And, you know, that's kind of probably just a symptom of some of the larger farms are starting to use the system as well.
And Ger, what proportion of the herd are we talking about here?
We're probably looking at about 58 to 68% of the overall national herd in the Republic of Ireland. So and it's a good representation of the farm's, let's say, performance. And I always look and see, well, you know, when we do this exercise each year, there's an air of expectation and the hope that you're looking at performance. Have we got better? And you're hoping that things haven't gone worse. So it's nice to do the exercise and see what the figures and results are out of our side. So overall, about 58% of the national herd is featuring in this overall report.
Ger, look, we know that 2022 was a very tough year in pig production for farmers because of the high feed and energy prices. Did this carry through in any way into 2023?
Yeah, I suppose the 2022 was a very, very tough year, mainly because of feed prices, as you said, and the war in Ukraine caused feed prices to rise very dramatically. The best way of looking at this is look at the feed cost per kilo deadweight. And in 2022, the average feed cost per kilo of pig meat was 1.56 cent, €1.56. And in 2023, that dropped a little bit, but it only dropped really to €1.51. So it dropped only 5 cents. And while that drop was significant, the 2022 year was a very, very tough year because the margin over feed, the price paid in 2022 was €1.82. So it meant you only had a margin over feed of 26 cents. So that was 26 cents to cover all your non-feed costs, which wasn't nearly enough to do so. And thankfully in 2023, things improved greatly on that front, and the price paid per kilo of pig meat was €2.24. So there was a margin over feed there of 73 cents. And that has allowed farmers, come back with some level of positivity towards the sector because, 2022 is an all-time low really in terms of the pig side of making any money out of pigs.
Ger, in terms of sow performance, what are the key performance indicators and how did they change in 2023?
When we look at the sow performance, we generally tie it down to one key performance indicator, which is the number of pigs produced per sow. And that the number of pigs produced per sow really is the number born alive minus all of your mortalities on the farm. And when we do that on an average number per sow, the number rose from 27.4 pigs in 2022 to 27.9 pigs in 2023. So there was a half of a pig extra produced per sow per year in 2023. And that probably is a little bit of extra labor coming into the equation because things relaxed a little bit when prices start to rise. There was a little bit more hope in the industry as well. So it's nice to see a rise there. The main reasons that rose was that the average number of pigs born alive per litre rose from 14.81 pigs per litre to 14.94, and that the number of pig litres per sow per year rose from 2.24 to 2.26. So the mortalities rose slightly as well. Piglet mortality, weaner mortality rose a little bit, but the overall outcome was that the number of pigs produced per sow increased to 27.9 from 27.4.
And what do we see in terms of performance when looking at the top 25% of farms for pigs per sow per year?
Yeah, it's very impressive when you look at the top 25% of farms on the pigs per sow per year. The number of pigs produced on those farms was 31.3 pigs per sow per year. So, as I said, the average number was 27.9. So there's a rise of 3.4 pigs per sow per year on those top performing, top 25% of farms. And that really is coming from the extra born alive. Those farms had 15.46 pigs born alive per litre versus the 14.94 on the average farms. But they also had lower mortalities in the farrowing house, the weaner house, and the finisher house. So it's very impressive performance to be up at that level of 31.3 pigs produced per sow per year.
Yeah, it's quite a big difference between the top quarter and the rest, really, isn't it?
It really is, and it shows you, let's say, some farms have huge levels of born alive, and they are getting benefits in terms of, pigs per sow per year on the strength of those extra pigs that are being born alive.
Ger, how did the growing pigs perform in 2023?
In 2022, if I go back there, the average growth rate from the time the pigs are taken off the sow at weaning was up to the time of sale was 736 grams per day. And that increased in 2023 up to 757 grams per day. So the growth rate from weaning to sale in 2023 was 757 grams per day. And the feed conversion over that same period dropped from 2.45 in 2022 to 2.42 in 2023. So an improvement in daily gain and a slight reduction in the feed conversion, which is is good from a profitability point of view.
And what happened in terms of feed conversion on the average and top 25% of farms in 2023?
The feed conversion on the average herds, as I mentioned, the feed conversion there from weaning to sale was 2.42. On the top 25% of farms, those farms achieved a feed conversion of 2.37. And normally when we look at that, we will always say, gosh, that had to lead to a great profitability. But it's interesting that in 2023, that didn't happen because the sale weight of pigs dropped it was lower rather on the top 25% of farms. So the sale weight was 113.7 kilos live weight, whereas on the average farms, it was at 116.8 kilos live weight. So you're selling a lighter pig, you're getting a lower feed conversion. But when we factor in the lower feed used, so the top 25% based on feed conversion used 13.1 kilos of feed less than the average farms, but their pigs were sold at a lower live weight and a lower carcass weight. The carcass weight was 2.8 kilos lighter. And when you factor that in terms of the higher price paid for that extra carcass weight, the actual top 25% of farmers based on feed conversion didn't make any more money because they were selling a lighter pig. So normally, let's say, you'll see a major difference there and a major, let's say, increase in profitability based on that feed conversion side of things. But because the pigs were sold at a lighter weight, that profitability didn't accrue to each pig on those farms. So it's quite an unusual one, and it's really related to the very high price that was paid last year for pigs of €2.24.
The top 25 based on number of pigs produced and the top 25 then based on feed conversion weaning to sale, they're both outlined in the report. Are many of the farms in the top 25 for both parameters, or does it tend to be different farms?
That's a good question, Amy. When you look at the farms, you start to see trends, but the trend certainly would be that within the year on year, the sows that are producing those higher numbers of pigs per sow on the sow performance side, they will generally show up year after year after year. And likewise, on the feed conversion, you're seeing usually different farms that are achieving very good feed conversion performance. So now you may have a small number of very exceptional farms that are featuring in both sets of data, but they're usually different farms, and it's impressive to see the pigs per sow. But I would always say, from a profitability point of view, the feed conversion is usually where most money is made, given that feed is such a large proportion of the production cost. So you'd like to be in both. And believe it or not, there are a couple of farms that are in both the top 25% on pigs produced per sow and on feed conversion figures. But generally, you will see some farms featuring in pigs produced per sow, let's say, on that side, but not on the feed conversion. They generally won't overlap too much. But there are certainly more showing up this year, featuring in both sets and overlapping both sets of parameters.
Ger, we know feed is a major cost in the production of pig meat. Can you share the feed costs for the average farm and the top 25% of farms in 2023?
Yeah, in 2023, Amy, the price for feed worked out at €1.51 per kilo of pig meat. That figure in 2022, as I said, was 156. And so it dropped only 5 cents in 2023. And that really was a carryover of the high feed costs carrying into 2023. The current feed cost is coming down, and that feed cost now is working out at €1.35. So it is giving an extra level of comfort to farmers that we are getting a lower feed cost. But let's say we don't know what will happen this year or in forthcoming years. That feed cost may rise or fall. At the moment, the pig price is a good pig price, so farmers are looking at it, and they are covering all of their production costs at the moment.
Ger, in terms of other costs, I see healthcare has increased by 2.6 cent per kilo deadweight in 2023. What's the cause of this?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. And when you look at it, the healthcare cost rose to 8.7 cent from 6.1 in 2022. And I'm not sure what the cause of it is. I suspect it is related to less in-feed medication going in 2023 into diets, where that in-feed medication may not have been attributed to the healthcare. It was going into the feed cost in some cases. And I'm saying in some cases, in a small number of cases, but that could have a bearing on it. It also may reflect the use of more vaccines on farms to overcome some of the background health issues on farms. And that is contributing, I know, to the increased healthcare costs on some farms as well. So it may be a combination of a better direction of the healthcare costs to the healthcare costs rather than, in some cases, to the feed costs, as may have happened in the past. And also, it may also be a reflection of more vaccine usage and costs on farms as well.
And Ger, what other costs are dealt with, and are there any significant increases here?
The other costs will cover all of the other production costs, so that are associated with pig meat. So you're looking at AI transport. If there are other costs associated with pig production, they're factored in as well. And looking at it, most of the costs have remained the same. The one that sticks out is that labour has increased from 12.9 cent up to 14.9 cent in 2023. That's a 2 cent rise. And that may reflect I suppose that in 2022, farms were at a skeleton labour staff to try and keep costs down. And it also may reflect that farmers possibly didn't pay themselves a wage out of the farm either. But in 2023, with more profitability in the business, they were able to do so, and that figure has risen to 14.9 cent. So what I always say when we look at these costs of production, I think every farm has to ensure that they are capturing all of their own costs and include those in the system, so that while they may benchmark against some of the costs that we will show in these reports, I would be much more conscious that they need to know, well, what are their production costs, and make sure that they are managing them correctly.
Ger, how long have our records been compiled, and what trends do we observe in pigs produced per sow per year?
Well, Amy, I suppose when we go back to the late 1980s, that's when figures would have been compiled from. Now, generally, when I look at the figures, I will always start in the year 2000, because we have very definite records of national herd figures from then. So back in the year 2000, the output per sow was 21.6 pigs produced per sow. We're now up at 27.9. The sale weight back in 2000 was 90.1 kilos live weight, and now in 2023 we're up at 116.8 kilos live weight. And the average daily gain from weaning to sale, which is a nice figure to look at, back in the year 2000 was 585 grams. And that figure now is 757 grams. So there's a huge rise, let's say, in that growth performance on farms. And when we look at the kilos of feed per kilo of pig meat, that figure was 3.6 kilos of feed per kilo of pig meat in the year 2000. And that figure now is 3.54. So it is reduced from 3.66 to 3.54 over that 24-year period. So that's an impressive performance when you start to look at the output per sow and the feed performance.
Finally, Ger, how do farmers compare their figures to those of the average and the top performing farms?
Well, within Teagasc, we have a benchmark report, and it's a nice thing to do that at the end of each year, farmers should look at their 12-month performance and compare that and with the top 25% and the top 10% of farms that we've compiled here. So it's useful, let's say, if they ever want to do that, they can ring their advisor when they send in their figures. They can ring their advisor just to ask for the benchmark report to be compiled to look at the 12-month performance and compare their 12-month performance with the 2023 figures. And I think it's useful to look at the 12-month performance more so than the quarter's performance, because there can be ups and downs in figures within a 13-week period. Whereas if you're looking at it over a longer period, it's a much more settled performance figure.
And do you find many people request their benchmarking report on a yearly basis?
A number of farmers do, and I've started looking at it with a view towards when I get the figures for the end of the year, I will do the benchmark report as part of I will send them out their normal report, and I'll also send them out the benchmark report alongside it. And it's a nice thing to do, but it's also a nice comparison that they can have to relate their figures and see, well, are there areas that they can improve, or are they in that top 10% or that are the top 25% of farms? And like everything, we're always striving to improve. We're always looking to develop further in what we do. So unless we start to look at other performance figures, we can become a little bit complacent, and that's what you're always trying to avoid.
Yeah, absolutely. Ger, thanks a million for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Just so that everybody knows, a copy of this report and the accompanying infographic is available on our website, and the link is included in the show notes, and a copy of both will be posted out to all producers in the coming days. That's it for this episode of The Pig Edge, and thanks a million to Ger for joining me on the show. Don't forget to listen and follow on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast from, so you never miss an episode. And for more information from the Pig Development Department, go to teagasc.ie. I'm Amy Quinn. Thanks for listening.